Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and today we're going to talk about those new Oscar Best Picture requirements. So, the Academy of Motion Pictures released a new set of initiatives that will take place starting with eligibility for the 2024 Academy Awards ceremony. This initiative looks to create more diversity within all of Hollywood, as it outlined 4 separate categories that a film can meet in order to qualify for a Best Picture nomination, in saying that a film only needs to meet 2 of the 4 criteria in order to get that nomination. To boil down these categories, basically, Category A requires that one of your main leads of the film be a person of color or someone from a historically disenfranchised group, including women, LGBTQ, or someone who has disabilities. The category also goes into basically breakdown of film and how the representation looks, as well as allows for another criteria of the subject matter representing one of the disenfranchised groups. Category B basically dictates that 2 major players behind the camera have to come from these groups that have largely been disenfranchised throughout history, and at least one of those 2 has to be a person of color. List out examples of person of color for clarification. Now, these range from director to writer to costume design to the head of hair and makeup departments. It ranges across all of the major film making components and departments. Then we get to category C, which is basically training and development. It highly focuses on the internship programs and gives you a percentage that must be met in your internship program that has to be disenfranchised groups coming in, as well as other crew positions that are mainly focused on training and development purposes. Then finally, category D is about marketing and the audience and how this is being distributed to the audience through representation on those making the decision, thus dictating that a set number of individuals in senior executive positions, whether it be in marketing, publicists, agencies, are part of the aforementioned disenfranchised groups. Now, of course, there are more details when you look at the actual guidelines. And within each category, A, B, C, D, there are actually subheadings within those categories. You only have to meet one of those subheadings to use that group as your qualifier. Now, this has sent the internet, obviously, into an uproar. What does this mean? Is this affirmative action? Are we doing diversity hires? On the other hand, people are upset that this is not going far enough, that this is just lip service, that this won't actually make an impact in the film industry. So for those that are worried about this wildly affecting great films being made from great directors that are in the game or great directors that are on the come up, these are literally the bare minimum standards that could be asked of Hollywood. To put it simply, you could still make a film that has nothing but straight white men in the entire cast without a woman or someone of color to be seen. The director, writer, everybody in power on set all could be straight white men. They are not constricted on the film set, literally at all, to change the way that they make the vision of their film if they don't want to be, because the internship programs and the training and development, as well as the marketing and publicists, all are hired and done directly through the studio system, thus not impacting how you as a director make your film literally in the slightest, but instead expanding what is asked of studios and bringing new voices into the fold. So no, they're not forcing in diversity into your films, forcing in. These criteria are almost always met in honesty. These should not be difficult measures to exceed. You want to have an all-white cast? Is your publicist a woman? Is your hair and makeup artists and costume designers women or LGBTQ members? Voila. Are you allowing a nice diverse group into your internship programs? Look, you qualified. Really, I think a lot of the hugabaloo is that people see diversity, they see inclusion, and they get mad without really looking at what these standards are and how easy, bare minimum, they are to be met. Honestly, most companies, most colleges, most every other industry in the United States pretty much already set to such standards just in hiring practices. Nevertheless, when we get down to the top award in your industry, and in saying that, guess what? You don't have to want an Oscar. If you don't want to adhere, you just don't include your film in for a Best Picture nomination. Furthermore, the Oscars already have stipulations on what can and can't be submitted for Best Picture. Under 40 minutes? That's right, short films can never be considered for Best Picture. Released, or this year, planned to release your film in every single county in the country except for Los Angeles? Well, then you are not eligible for Best Picture. Couldn't find distribution to get out before the 31st of the year? Well, again, except for this year. Well, looks like you'll have to try again next year because you are not eligible for Best Picture. There are already stipulations in place by the Oscars themselves. In addition, we also have laws in place set by the government on labor, on discrimination. A lot of these things are already bare minimum there. So as people are crying about visions and about artistic integrity, realize, as I said at the beginning, that honestly doesn't have to be affected at all with these bare bones outlines that have been put in place. But two, well, that's just code, honestly. The conversations I've been seeing online are code that has been used against every race that is not white, women, and LGBTQ folks throughout history of great films should just be made. That's the end goal, is to get to a point where the best films are all being submitted and we don't even have to think about all of those amazing artists who didn't even get a chance because of the color of their skin, because of the connections they didn't have to their gender, due to the color of their skin, due to their sexual orientation. But we're not there. And the only way to get to that point where we can solidly and confidently feel like the best pictures are here for the nominations, that's what made it to the cream of the crop, is by putting in initiatives and by forcing Hollywood to open those doors that they have long kept shut. Change does not wait for permission. Change is pushed. It starts with a movement and then a sweeping action taken once that movement has gotten loud enough. And over the past 10 years, the movement has been getting louder and louder as groups have continued to see themselves disenfranchised, left out of the conversation, not having the doors opened, regardless of their talent, of their experience, of their value. Now, the Academy, one of the loudest voices in all of the film industry, is making a motion in order to facilitate the change we have been asking for as a collective group. Now, you may not have personally been asking for it, but society at large has been pushing for a more diverse representative body. So another argument has been, let the dollar speak, let capitalism make the decision. Well, in that same vein, the Academy is under every right to make the decision on what qualifies or doesn't qualify for their award ceremony. They're the ones who make all of their own rules. And as we saw this year with deadlines and COVID, those rules and those regulations are quite arbitrary and can be changed whenever needed. The need is here. What's the saying people like to throw out? Well, if you don't like it, make your own award show that becomes as prestigious as the Oscars. Simple as that, right? So in saying all of this and addressing the arguments that I very much do not agree with, I will say I am also not fully on board with these new regulations that the Academy has put forth. As I said before, they are very, very bare bones, minimal effort type of initiatives. These should be cleared easily by every single film. Film sets and crews are humongous. There is no reason that they should be homogenized. Marketing and publicist firms are humongous. No reason they should be homogenized. Film schools are diverse and rich, full of new and upcoming ideas. They should not be homogenized. And as much as people moan and groan, most stories should not be homogenized. Quite frankly, almost every story has room for diversity. Yes, even historical biopics quite often get whitewashed in the name of history because, believe it or not, people of color existed. We have always been here, y'all, in one capacity or another, whether it be in England, the United States, or other parts of the world. People of color have often been snuffed out and erased from history where they once were and should still be. So most recent Best Picture winners would still qualify. Even the ones we didn't like, even the bad ones, they'd be there. So I don't know that this pushes us forward that much. Honestly, I'm most excited for the internship and the future of where this could take the film industry, broadening those ideas, broadening the scope, and opening the doors to different voices and new talents that otherwise wouldn't have even gotten a chance to the door. In addition, someone brought up a great point of disclosure, and one, the legality of getting information from people regarding specifically their sexuality and their status within the LGBTQIA community, two, disabilities. So it's a very fine line, one, legally, on asking people how they identify sexually, and to list out their medical history basically for an employer. Those are very sticky and I don't like it. That's the murky water I'm sitting in right now. The point where if we're trying to get these different people involved, having your studio coercing people out of the closet, whether sexually or your medical history. It's not right, and it's not a practice I want to see adopted, and with these new rules, easily could start taking place, putting people immediately at physical or mental risk, as well as their future careers could easily be put in danger. Finally, I don't know how we're going to regulate this. How are we going to ensure that these are actually being met? The language in these categories is left pretty vague, which again makes them super easy to qualify for, but also makes them super easy to cheat through. So studios are definitely going to start playing the game. Let's not kid ourselves with that. And generally, as members of the press, you have access to maybe 3 of these easily. And as viewing audiences, really, you can only find information about 2 of these easily, A and B, in front of the camera and those listed on the IMDb page. How are we going to hold the voting body accountable for the fact that they're meeting the criteria that they have set forth? So again, I think a lot is being made out of a very marginal change. But a change, I hope, that sparks the conversation and motivates studios to actively change the practices that they have been implementing for decades. That is my take on the new rules and regulations and requirements for the 2024 Oscar Best Picture nominees. Can we have a civil discourse? I don't know, but if you would, please leave your civil comments in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter and we can discuss this further. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!